All right, welcome to the Jazz Piano School podcast, where we have one simple mission to help as many interested people around the world get better and improve at jazz piano by providing structured and organized jazz piano education. My name is Brendan Lowe. Thank you so much for joining me, and this is episode number 73. Unfortunately, I just filmed this episode, or recorded it, I guess, and my power went out halfway through, so that was not fun. But needless to say, here we are. I'm doing it again, and it's going to be great. So it's a short one, I guess. That's a plus. But I'm going to be going over Latin music and bossas in this episode, and it's going to be briefly, fairly short because I really don't have much to give you guys on this. And the reason for that is because a lot of it has to do with rhythm, but there's really not much to it, to be honest. I mean, so many people ask me, a lot of my students and people of Jazz Piano School ask me, what does it take to play bossas or Latin music and stuff like that? And it all it comes down to is you're playing straight eighths instead of swinging eighths. Now, with that being said, there's much more that goes on behind the scenes, right? You can go down this rabbit hole very, very far, right? With Afro-Cuban music or bossa, and there are people who just play in a Latin band, right? And they know all these different types of montunos and are just amazing Latin players. I'm not one of those players, right? But they definitely know more than me. So it depends what you're going for, right? So if you're just looking to play Latin tunes with a band or with your jazz ensemble or stuff like that, then this is going to be fine. And I can kind of give you my experience. I've played in Latin big bands in school and throughout my career and stuff like that with groups. But again, it's not what I do professionally. But you can definitely specialize in playing, Afro-Cuban music, because there is a lot there. There's a lot of rhythmic claves, different things like that. So I'm going to go over 3 different claves with you. Just to give you a little background, again, Afro-Cuban music is going to be different than bossa nova. And the Afro-Cuban music, again, there's 2 different claves I'm going to show you, 2-3 clave and 3-2 clave. And again, the clave is more of the rhythmic glue that holds the song and drives the song, holds the song together as the music is being played. And again, Afro-Cuban music came out of Cuba and is different than bossa nova, and I think people sometimes get those mixed up. The bossa nova is basically a mix of samba, which came out of Brazil, and jazz, and it was developed around the 50s and 60s, and bossa nova means new trend. So it was a combination of samba, which was already a highly percussive dance music, and it merged with jazz, so it's more of a smoother, mellower type of Brazilian music, I guess, that is the bossa. And again, the Afro-Cuban style is different than that. So again, the clave for Afro-Cuban, I'm going to give you 2 claves. The 2-3 clave, I'm going to present this in 4, but you can feel this in 2 a lot of the times when you're playing with your band. And again, this is you're going to feel this from the drummer and the bass player, because they're going to be relying heavily off this groove. That's why this is important, okay? So if I'm counting chord notes, I'll give you the 3-2 clave first. Well, no, I'll give you the 2-3 clave first. So if I'm counting chord notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 3, 4, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. And again, so that's just a percussive rhythmic feel or style that lends itself to certain Afro-Cuban tunes. And you'll feel that in the background. Now you're playing, right? If you're playing an Afro-Cuban tune that has that clave, right, you can base your playing off of that. But again, as I get into more of this kind of stuff in the podcast a little bit later on, I'll talk about that. But anyway, here is the 3-2 clave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3. Okay, so they're just kind of flip-flop. In the first one, you have 2 beats in the first measure. The 3 beats are in the second measure. In the second one, you have the 3 beats in the first measure and the 2 beats in the second measure. All right? So again, different types of songs in Afro-Cuban music will lend themselves to the different claves, okay? And where the beat is emphasized. And so again, that can kind of change your playing. But as I'm going to explain with bossas too, it's never really affected me that much. I mean, I kind of take on the same approach. I mean, again, if you're more of a specialized player, then I'm sure you have more detailed-oriented things that can go into your solo, but I've never really needed those in my career. Now, the Bossa clave is going to be slightly different than the 3/2 clave, but with the upbeat on the last beat. So again, here's your 3/2 clave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. So that very last beat on the third beat is going to be on the upbeat of 3 instead of being on the downbeat of 3, and that kind of gives it more of that jazz feel, right? You have more of that upbeat to end it off. So it's going to sound like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. Okay, so again, that's not necessarily what you are playing. That's what the drummer and the bass player are going to be playing off of each other to create the groove. Now, again, the groove is what this music is about. And so playing, unless you're playing like a Montuno, it's hard to really get the groove out of solo piano. So I never really, you definitely can play these solo piano. It's just very, very hard. I mean, the bass player and the drummer are really creating the entire groove. It's a very percussive music, right? Both of these styles. So, and again, you're not swinging anything. You're just everything straight. So let me get into some demonstrations now. I'm going to demonstrate Desafinato, which is a very nice Jobim bossa. And again, Antonio Carlos Jobim is very known for his bossas. But again, I'm just going to kind of move through this bossa. Nothing is different. Everything that I'm applying to this comes out of my jazz theory. It comes out of theory and knowledge, right? So when people ask me, well, how do you play bossas or how do you play Latin music? I mean, the only thing that's different really is the rhythm. And that's the drummer and the bass player really, that's their role. So they're creating the Latin and the bossa feel. All I'm doing is playing straight eighths instead of swing eighths. That's honestly it. That's really all I'm doing. Okay, so I'm just going to, if I were to comp through Desafinato, or maybe I'll just do the first day or something, it's a long form, but I'm going for airy, open. Bosses are very smooth, elegant, classy, right? I picture kind of a fire going, a bearskin rug, some whiskey maybe, right? So that's what I'm going for, very open and airy comping. But besides that, I'm not doing anything else. And again, my feeling, instead of 1 and 2 and 3, right? Instead of I'm going for just everything straight. And you'll hear that when I do some improv as well. But here's just comping. Let's say you're playing with a singer and you're comping, or you're playing with a sax player, right? And you're playing a bossa nova. And my comping is just going to be open and just airy, but straight eighths. So here we go. So again, let me just stop this here. If I were comping if we were swinging this, I'd be pretty much doing the same exact thing, but I would just be swinging my comping, right? 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So again, it's the drummer and the bass player setting up the groove. We as pianists simply change our rhythmic value from swing eighths to straight eighths. And again, I'm kind of giving a different atmosphere. Again, the swing is more of a driving feel, more of upbeat, right? The bossa is smooth, right? You're creating a different atmosphere, so your approach changes. But again, as far as the things I'm doing, that's just comes all out of jazz theory. You can use all the voicings, all the lines, everything you've learned in jazz, any sort of voicing, you can still apply this to these types of tunes. That's why I really don't have much to give people when they play this, because again, it's not really about us. It's about the drummer and the bass player and the groove they're creating. We want to mesh into the groove by laying out a little bit more, being more open for these types of tunes, for the singer, right, to be kind of elegant, sexy, stuff like that. But besides that, I'm not doing anything differently, all right? So again, if I were to play this melody with a trio or something, my left hand is going to be very sparse. Again, I'm trying to just be very smooth, open, and just create this nice, really, nice feel to the tune. That's really all I'm going for. But as far as what I'm doing here, it's not different. It's not any different. Okay, so if I were to play this, with a trio, this is what it would sound like here. So again, that's nothing's changing. I mean, again, what I'm doing is trying to be smooth. I have some slides, right? And all these kind of elegant little slides really add to the texture of the smoothness, right? And my left hand's very sparse. So it's really kind of filling in the space. You can just lay down on one, just plop whole notes down. But again, it's all about the feeling. It's not about the notes. I mean, I think that's the biggest takeaway. Now, again, if I were to solo over this, I'm not doing anything different. I'm using my same exact theory, knowledge, and melodic lines that I use in jazz, but I'm not swinging them anymore. I'm just creating a straight eighth feel, to play my improv line. So here we go. Let's check that out. Again, with a nice airy open feel. And then I continue on. But that should give you a good sense of what I'm doing. I mean, again, it's nothing different. But I'm creating, I just keep saying the same thing over and over again, but I'm sorry, but I'm just creating an atmosphere. Now, the great thing about jazz piano school, and again, is that people ask me how to play these different types of music, like funk, gospel, bossa, Latin, Afro-Cuban, all these different styles. And the thing is, all that stuff stems out of basic, the theory knowledge and the way you implement your learning to certain progressions and things like that, and everything I'm doing. It's all about, once you get into different genres, it's about the feel. It's about the groove, right? And I'm not saying it's not about the groove in jazz. Obviously, it is as well. Like learning how to swing and really feeling the swing it's about the groove too. But again, bebop is a very specific language, jazz improv language in the jazz era, right, or the jazz history. So when you learn how to kind of utilize the piano and just the theory of harmonies and progressions and movements, you can apply that to anything. And that's why it's not, I guess it's amusing, but it's about how you're educated through this type of material. People will, just learn Like, oh, what's a good funk lick? Well, there's no funk licks, you know what I'm saying? Or like, what's a good Latin lick? I mean, besides Montuno specifically, there's not really that type of stuff. Or what's a funk voicing? Like, oh, there's not really a funk voicing, you know what I mean? So, I mean, it depends on the sound. It depends on the groove. If I just change the sound on my keyboard, whoops, and I have an electric piano, already that's going to give a funk groove. If I play an altered chord, for example, right? Stuff like that. You know, it's not everything I'm doing. I can play my regular piano and make it jazz and swing it. I forget what I played here. So I just played the exact same thing, but you can make it funk or you can make it jazz. And again, it's not about the notes you're playing. Once you learn, it's about building your foundation. When you have a foundation, that's why learning jazz, like learning a strong foundation jazz theory and the way we teach at Jazz Piano School, moving through the different categories with theory components, it gives you complete freedom. You know, that's the learning freedom. So anyway, back to the Bossa. That's it. That's it. I mean, we're at 16 minutes. I really don't have anything more to give you guys. Again, when I'm comping, I'm keeping it airy and open. When I'm soloing, it's about the same thing. I like creating melodic melodies. I'll give you a couple more demonstrations just so you can see, but I don't have much more teaching on this except to feel the straight ace, right? You're feeling 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 instead of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. All right, so here we go. I'll do a little bit of everything on this one. All right. You can keep it very open, right? Get more rhythmic with it if you want. Land into it. Motifs, melodic motifs. So, yeah, again, I mean, that's, you just have to get used to the feeling and the groove and think about your approach as being more open, airy. And again, if I were swinging this, you can really dig in. You can also dig into these tunes, but it's just a different feeling. It's a different style. It's a different feeling, right? If I'm swinging it, then it's completely different. It's just a different feeling. But again, the stuff I'm playing, I could play that exact same thing, but straight in my eighth notes, and it would still fit for this type of music. So I hope that was a little bit helpful. It feels a little strange to me to teach on this subject. But again, if you're looking for all the specific montunos for Latin jazz and stuff like that, I can give you guys some ideas probably in a different episode on playing montunos and things like that. But again, playing like manteca or sort of Latin style jazz music, I would be playing the exact same thing. I would literally be playing the exact same stuff. And there's certain approaches. I mean, some of those guys are amazing. I mean, there's whole different approaches on that, but that's a whole different rabbit hole. So hopefully you've enjoyed this. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them on the podcast page, and we'll answer them. If you guys have requests for podcasts too, I always love, this was a request by someone. And if you have more requests, please let us know, because I always love getting new ideas for podcasts. So I'll see you guys and talk to you guys in the next episode. Until then, happy practicing.